Hey everybody, how's it going? Nick, how are you?
I'm doing good, David.
Good, it's Davey. You know, if we're gonna use fake names, you gotta give me the right one.
Oh, but I thought you didn't like Davey.
You know what? I think you're right. Which one were we doing?
I was doing Davey, and then you said it's David.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Curmudgeon.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, my apologies. Yeah, you had the right fake name. That's good. So what's going on, man?
Well, I am readjusting my main system in my main listening room because I have to accommodate a new piece of furniture that looks a lot nicer than the sort of little stand I had and with all the wires exposed and everything. So this is definitely a step up in the civilization department, but it's about 2 feet wider than I had my speakers before. So I'm just dialing it in, that's kind of part of the fun. I got to dial in the speakers into the room. It's not that big. It's maybe 17 by 18, 18 by 20. It's about the size of the room, but it sounds great in there. But you move things an inch or two. And as you know very well, and especially now, which we'll get to your new news, you're a member of the family.
New acquisition, yes.
And mine, the Canton reference 9Ks are pretty easy. They're pretty forgiving. That's what I liked about them. They're just good workhorse, over-engineered German, tanks. And, they've really broken in over the last couple of years, and they really, really are very different than from when I got them, I think.
And what are you using to drive those?
I still am using mainly the NAD M10 V2. The V3 was just announced or released. The V1 was not well received.
Okay.
And people really gave them NAD a pretty hard time about it. They were pretty rough on them. I don't know, but people can be mean on the internet. I don't know if you know about that.
I haven't noticed that yet.
Yeah, but no. Well, don't go on the internet. You won't see. But people can be really mean. And but they, God bless them, they went back to the drawing board. They kind of did their mea culpas, and they came back, and they had it all fixed. And I've had mine, it's going on, I think, 3 years maybe.
Okay.
And just not a hiccup. It's bulletproof. And then my wife and son, we talked about previously, I do that so they can just go in, AirPlay something. I wanted the highest performance with the absolute lowest, the easiest UI for them to do, because I want them to be hooked on great audio, which they are. Both of them are. And before I had my Krell amp, the beautiful Krell Streamer, the Krell Connect that I loved. It's still the best sounding, 1644 streaming I've ever heard.
Yeah, we call that Redbook.
Redbooks. Oh. Oh my God. This is what I have to deal with, people. This is what I have to deal with. I had all that. I had a variety of different preamps and the Benchmark DAC 3 coming in and out. And, and I was always swapping things in and out.
Yeah.
But I was the only one enjoying it.
Sure.
Because you needed I had to print out a full page single space list of how to get everything on and doing and what not to do.
Trust me, guys, this is going to be so easy.
What to do in case of, I got it down to 1 page.
I got it on a page.
9-point type, single spaced. It's great. And they were always supportive. They're like, oh no, it sounds great. But then they were never going to touch it or use it. And that really bummed me out. Because then I was like, now I'm in that other part of audiophilia that I don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Which is that part it's my little geeky, my little, just purely me geeking out on stuff without, it didn't have that element of inclusivity, which is kind of what music is, right? It brings us together and does stuff. And I want my audio gear to do that. So
100%.
I went with the NED. I have no regrets. Was it a step down? Do I still have my Krell amp hidden in the basement? Just phenomenal. Great Krell quality. That's which is another topic we need to talk about.
Oh yeah,
at some point.
Yeah, Connecticut's best, man. Yeah.
But now I've gone on enough. Davey.
Yes.
Mazel. You have this new addition to the family. Let's talk.
Do I ever? As you know, our daughter moved out. She is she's off on her own.
Fled. I think the word was fled.
Yeah,
she used as she ran to the Uber. Yeah, in the 3 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, she's leaving home after living alone for so many years. We kind of had this extra room downstairs that was her quote unquote playroom, just filled with just crap and, her stuff. And she was here a few weeks ago and I said, okay, you get off the couch, put down TikTok. You're coming with me. We're going downstairs and all you have to do is point and either nod or shake your head because we are getting rid of We are getting rid of stuff. And, you know, to her credit, after like 3 hours, we had garbage bags filled with stuff, and we stuffed it in the back of the car, and boom, went to Goodwill, dropped it off, came back, did the same thing again. We had 2 car loads full of stuff gone. So it's like, okay, great. Now we have this room. And we're like, what are we going to do with this? And of course, my wife was like, I can make it a sewing room. I was like, no. We can't have that. So I got it in my head. And once something hits my head, it does not exit easily. That I was going to put together a listening room.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, can you believe it?
I cannot believe a second audiophile room. You give and you give, Davey. You just give.
This is my gift to the world and myself.
Yes.
And so yeah.
Because what if you're up here and then you want to walk downstairs and you go downstairs for something and you don't have a listening room down there?
And if I don't have music constantly playing 360 degrees around my head 24/7, there's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, you know, it was more along the lines of the system up here in the living room is fantastic. I love it. It's great. It's wonderful. But is it appropriate for a quote critical listening? And if we want to review a piece of equipment, you know, is it fair for me to put it in a room where, you know, we're using polydirectional speakers and, you know, there are a lot of non-technical variables up here that you don't need to take into account for casual listening. But if you want to do critical listening, it matters. And so, you know, that's how I justified it in my head. It took a couple of days.
Good job, by the way.
Thank you. I think so. And I'm sure it's a tax write-off now. So yeah, so I got it in my head. Okay, listening room. So I'm like going through in my head. We're going to rip up the carpet. We're going to get rid of all the furniture in there. It's just going to be this nude room optimized for listening. Completely minimal. You know, literally speaker, chairs, place to put equipment. That's it. And then acoustic treatment. I said, okay, well, what do I want to have in there? You know, just let your brain go crazy. And my brain went crazy and I was like, oh yeah, Wilson Chronosonics. And I was like, yeah, that's not in the budget. But I always wanted Magnepans. For the last few years, ever since I got really serious about this, you know, they were like the bad boys, the man in the black hat. And Magnepans, what I love about them is that A, it's an American company. B, they took the traditional way to make a speaker and threw it out the window. And they're affordable.
Yeah.
They are affordable. And particularly on the used market, on the secondary market, holy cow. And they're available. They're around. You can find them. So I, you know, did some homework, did some digging around. And yeah, sure enough, on Facebook Marketplace, this guy in Jersey was selling a pair of Magnepan MG1s, you know, probably 35 years old, maybe. And he said they were recently, like, you know, 10, 15 years ago, they were fixed up. They were renovated, whatever you call it. I meet up with him. Very nice gentleman. Very, very nice gentleman. I think he was like a retired musician or something. He had like a marimba down there. And it's always seemingly the same story. You know, somebody gets really into music. They buy too much equipment and it's just sitting there.
Huh?
Yeah.
Surprise face?
Yes. Hashtag audio sarcasm. So I go down to the basement. He's got them hooked up and, you know, they're on, you know, sort of, let's say consumer level equipment. And I listen to it. I'm like, yeah, you know, they work. You know, I wasn't like blown out of the water, but I did realize they, you know, they weren't towed in. They didn't do this. And I wasn't about to like go and fiddle with his system, but I could tell that they worked. And I was like, okay, so these are functional. They have a great reputation. I get it. They've recently been fixed. Cool. And he had the original boxes. I was like, all right, let's pack it up. Let's go. And it was funny because his wife came down, lovely woman. She came down. She's like, "Oh my God, please tell me you're taking these out of the house." I was like, which is exactly what when I bought my Shanians, that was exactly what that gentleman's wife said. Please tell me you're getting these out of the house. I was like, yes, I am, and for approximately the same price too. Yeah. So yeah, we packed them up. They fit in my car. And we're off and running.
Well, I just want to stop there for 1 second.
Yeah.
You know, we have to kind of pour one out for the poor gents who don't have wives who tolerate are nonsense.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you up on that. Yeah.
As my good friend Scott at Verdant Audio said, when his wife to be was a little bit concerned about his audiophile hobby, and he said, "Well, honey, look, I go to because she said you go to these audio shows, you're away for a few days at a time. You go to Chicago, DC, whatever." And he said, "Look, hon, you should be glad that you're dating a guy who has a hobby where he is never going to run into a woman."
Oh.
And she thought about it, and now they've been married happy. They got a little girl, like life goes on, a happy ending. And now she's helping him run his company with him, So he said, "I'm never going to meet a girl like, what are you thinking about? This is like..."
Yeah. I mean, am I having an affair? Yes, I'm having an affair with a 250-pound amplifier.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like going to a King Crimson concert. There's no possible threat of meeting another woman.
You know how to cut me. God, you cut me so deep, Davey.
I might have cut you, but I cut you with the truth. That is my knife. That is my Excalibur, is the truth. So I get these things home, and like every audiophile, I leave the equipment in the box and I don't think about it. Hashtag audio sarcasm.
You got me again.
Yeah. No, of course. I as soon as I got him home, I was like, "Hi." I'm like, "Get out of the way. Move." Putting them together was like super easy because it's just like, a panel. You put you screw the feed on, and you're in business. And then you just plug them in. And I put them in, and I was like, yeah, I started playing music, and I was like, they sound great, but something's missing. In the meantime, my wife and my daughter were like, "These sound great." I'm like, "Yes," but I was sitting there listening in the sweet spot, and I just kept fiddling. I just kept fiddling with him, adjusting the toe, pulling him forward, pulling him back. And it was like, something's missing. I don't know what it is. I'm not feeling the energy. For 2 hours, I'm sitting there, and my wife is like, "You're insane. These sound great. You're insane." I was like, "Honey, yes, I know. But I also know that something's missing." So what do? I go on Reddit, I go on Google, and I'm like, how do you setting up Magnepans, blah, 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 setup, blah, blah, blah. Finally, I find an article that says, "Oh yeah, moron. The tweeters either can be on the inside or the outside." So you look at the serial number on the back, and there's one speaker has -1, one speaker has -2. -1 goes on the left. -2 goes on the right. I had them swapped.
Oh, dear me.
And I was like, sure, why not? And of course, I'm used to polydirectional, right, freaking obelisks where you can like throw them on the roof and it's going to sound fun.
Yeah.
I unplug them, swap their positions, plug them back in, get the towing right, back in position, hit play, same song, sit down. The world explodes around me.
Mm-hmm.
It was so different. I was shocked. It really dawned on me that, these things are super sensitive, super finicky about where they are in your room and what kind of listening are you going to do? And I was always of the mind, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be, sitting alone in a room, in a chair with 2 giant speakers in front of them, towed in exactly laser accurate right to their ear. But you know what? That's precisely what I'm going to be now, because
resistance is futile.
It is absolutely futile, man. It's going to be an experience. It's going to be interesting. I bought another lifetime wanting purchase to go with the Maggies. I picked up a Creek 5350 Special Edition, the SE. Yes, the very same Creek 5350 Special Edition that we talked about in the last episode on the audio dumpster dive. Got a little more power, a little more current. And again, I picked that up on the used market from a really, really nice guy for me. But he insisted, he's like, "Well, you're going to demo this, right?" And I was like, "Well, I thought I would just go to your house, give you money and take it." And he's like, No, you gotta listen to this thing. You haven't asked me a damn thing about it. I'm like, okay, you tell me you got the box. You tell me you still have the goddamn instructions. I trust you enough. He's like, "Well, you want my place or yours?"
Wow. Does it rub the lotion on its skin too? This is getting a little, rococo here. Let's go.
Wait, what's your great big fat person?
Oh, mercy.
So anyway, so I was like, look, all right, yeah, I got a new set of speakers here. I do need to make sure that the Creek can put out the amount of current that Magnepans require.
Right.
Because they you don't want to hook up a 10-watt single-headed triode to these things.
No.
They need the oomph. They need that power. I was like, yeah, sure, come on over. And I was expecting, this like drill sergeant asshole, but he was actually super nice. He was actually really, really nice. So he comes over, he's got it in the box, with the original packing material and everything else. And he brings it over and I hook it up incorrectly the first time. And I was like, where's the sound? And I finally did get it hooked up correctly. And I was excited.
Yeah, of course. You're very brave to admit that you're not perfect that you're not audio perfect.
I'm a delicate, vulnerable flower
Yeah.
sometimes, frequently. Yeah, turned it on. They sounded great. Put on, some of my demo tracks. One of my favorite, Harry Belafonte, live at Carnegie Hall from 1957. And it is a spectacular recording. So yeah, so I listened to that and he was like, "Ooh, this is great. Who's this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Harry Belafonte, motherfucker." And yeah, they were spectacular. They don't really reach down into the bowels of sound. So you're not going to get 20 hertz, 30 hertz, 40 hertz out of these things. But that's what the subwoofer is for, the B&W ASW 300 that I picked up. So yeah, so I got these speakers. I got this Creek. They're sitting in boxes. Everything's sitting in boxes, waiting for a room to be planted in and hopefully blossom into a beautiful sonic garden.
Oh, what a story. I'm in tears over here. I'm in tears. The Creek, I was looking since it came with all the original, packing materials and stuff. I'm just fascinated because I'd love to hear it because the Plinies you have, it sounds amazing. I think that's going to be really exciting to hear in your new room.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the Magnepan saga continues. All right, we are back. Yeah, Mick, you were going to present a comment or a question?
Well, my experience with these Maggies, the Magnepans, I've always loved them. I think they are... What I was going to say about Magnepan is, you're talking about this made in America, this legendary speaker. They totally tore up the rule book. They made their own thing. They made their own design. They're iconic. And they're so inexpensive and they're so good.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, because price is always some perception of value in people's minds.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I hate to say it, but we don't deserve Magnepan. We are not, this country is not worthy of Magnepan.
You know what?
Because when I sat there and you played Harry came three-dimensional, like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. He appeared as a three-dimensional little figure right in the middle of your coffee table and was singing to me live from Carnegie Hall. And the voice, it grabbed me by the chest. Literally, I felt my breath going out.
Yeah.
It is such a different sound from the Polys, from the Shahanians, which I also love, like ohms. I love the ohm poly. I love that polydirectional sound.
Yeah.
But they're so different. But oh my goodness.
If we are talking about like electrostatic speakers, you got to give a shout out to Quad. For the Quad 57 or the Quad 63, they were really the originators of it. But I think Magnepan really they picked up the ball. They looked at the rule book that Quad wrote and was like, yeah, it's great, but and to this day have just been on their own, man, and doing, like you say, doing their own thing. I mean, if you want to spend $30,000, they will sell you $30,000 speakers.
Now, my question is, because we only listened to a few things, and the classical music you were playing, it was phenomenal. But we know that like vocals, jazzy, especially like acoustic bass and chamber music and stuff, that's the easy stuff, right? Those are the soft,
the middle of the spectrum.
So how does Tool sound on these?
You know what? I haven't had the opportunity yet. Should we take a break and
Yep.
like listen to something?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. So, Mick, we just listened to a few tracks that were not, mid-range heavy, shall we say. What are your thoughts?
We listen to hard stuff like Tool, Aphex Twin, and The Who. I love it. I think I heard everything. I mean, I was very quiet listening. A lot of times I'm talking over because I kept pointing everything out. I just sat and listened. Do I think they're perfect for every type of music and every band? No, but tell me a speaker that is,
Right.
please.
Right.
But what they do right is so much better than 98% of the other speakers out there.
100%. Yeah.
I just sat silently and listened to it just like I did with everything else. They kind of take your breath away.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful. What about you? What do you think?
I didn't like it.
Oh,
Didn't like it. It didn't give me that sort of excitement that I was looking for. You're 100% right that, for their strike zone, they're unbeatable. They're like a Greg Maddux. But you get out of their comfort zone, and I think the fall off is pretty steep. When we did put on Tool, initially I was like, wow, yeah, no, that's great. We played 46 and 2, which, starts off kind of quiet. With that bass kind of, and then they give you some cymbal, and I was like, wow, the cymbals are like right there,
right. Yeah.
but that's the hot zone for Maggie's. But once it really started to kick in, it felt a little flat to me. I wasn't engaged, and then I was like, okay, well let me see what Aphex Twin can do for us, and I kind of felt the same way. I didn't get excited. And then when we put on Baba O'Reilly by a band called The Who, I wanted to be drawn in, just by that arpeggio, whatever they call it. I didn't feel drawn in. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe it will draw me in when the drums kick in. And it didn't. And all it did was kind of validate what I already thought. Maybe this is confirmation bias. But I was like, okay, it's good, but it wasn't great. And I think I know what the difference is. With the music that I normally will listen to, my normal everyday enjoyment music, it is more mid-rangey. It is definitely more like focused on vocals. I love like cello music. So it is going to be mid-rangey. It's also going to be just simply more intimate. It is going to be small club, Village Vanguard. Whereas Tool, Aphex Twin, The Who, those are stadium, big, massive clubs, big venues. And I think that is more appropriate for a polyphonic, polydirectional experience. To have that kind of wall of sound coming at you from dynamic speakers. Like that's what that music was built to do. That's where that music was born from. When you take music that was built and mixed for dynamic speakers and run them through the dipole speaker, it's just simply different. And I don't think it's as an effective projection of what the intention was by the producers, by the artists.
That's very fair. I think when I was
listening,
I was definitely doing some handicapping because I noticed I did feel like the subs, I mentioned the subs in the beginning were a little bit hot. So I just thought bring them down a bit. You're not running them crossed, you don't have your crossover set properly. So I was kind of doing a little bit of math in my head, just like mental, you know what I mean? Like audio math where I'm not literally.
Well, you're grading on a curve.
Yeah, exactly. I was grading on the curve.
Yeah.
But so I was also thinking the impression I got, I was like, okay, so this is like one of the world's great opera singers singing Led Zeppelin. And I'm like, okay, so you could say, yeah, but like Robert Plant, he doesn't have that, but whatever she does, it's going to be incredibly musical, incredibly precise, and it's going to probably open your ears up in different ways. Like it's just a gas to listen to. I'd love to hear that,
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about because I was grading on the curve on these because this is not optimized.
Yeah.
Your setup is not optimized.
Right.
The subs, the sound. but what I was hearing were the transient response, the sense of space.
Sure. Yeah.
And the good thing about the electronic music is because it's so artificial,
Yeah.
sort of, we call artificial. I think it's beautiful. I'm listening for the the decay, the release. I'm hearing for the starts and stops of everything. And this thing is just like, it doesn't propel the music forward into your face. It doesn't give you that like thumping, like sweaty palm kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. I feel like a lot of that's going to be very interesting when we rerun these tests when they're kind of optimized in their space. And I will be a lot less forgiving or grading on the curve, and we'll really sit down. Like you say, this is not really made for technical listening, for really, really close. So I kind of took it in that spirit.
Yeah.
But they're just remarkable. And I mean, my God, they're like, can you play Thus Spake Zarathustra through them so we can hear or was it Holst, the Jupiter? I'm thinking like they're the monoliths from 2001.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Da, 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 da. Yeah, so I mean, these are like alien technology, though, because when you were playing it for the front day, I almost jumped out of my seat. And I know baggies, I know what to expect, and it's almost like you're never prepared for how unbelievably intimate and right there, 3-dimensional.
Yeah,
creating that little hologram of the person right in front of you.
Yeah, in fact, I think there might be a little too holographic in the respect that when I was initially setting them up here, as well as I could, I did find that when I did sit right in the sweet spot, I found that even turning my head just a little bit made the soundstage move around, and I didn't like that. So I went to the right channel speaker and I just pushed it back about 3 inches, just pushed it back a little bit, sat down, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's it. That feels better. That feels better to me. I was able to kind of move my head around and be like, all right, I'm not getting this weird, almost vertigo from the speaker.
Well, let's see. You get them downstairs, and they're all maybe your listening habit. Maybe you'll have a listening style for these where you won't move around or as much, or I don't know.
I may actually start like wearing pants when I listen.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at the time. Oh my goodness, is it that late already?
No, I think you're absolutely right that in order for them to be useful for critical listening, they do need to be dialed in. The room's got to be dialed in. All the acoustics got to be dialed in. But just from what I've heard today and in previous days, I'm very excited. I'm really excited. And
yeah, I would be too. So this has brought up a new idea for me.
Okay.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Does the equipment break in or do your ears break in?
All right. That is another chapter. Good question.
Can you handle it?
I'm going to have a drink first.
You're sweating.
I am
I
sweating.
see it from here.
No, that's just me breathing.
From behind the plexiglass. I'm behind the plexiglass and I can still see you sweating, dude.
All right. We'll be right back. All right. We are back. Welcome back to, what is this thing called? The Sound or Music.
Sound or Music.
Yes, I am David Jones.
I'm Mick Jones.
So, before we went to the break, you raised a very compelling thought experiment. What was that?
Well, we often, we always hear about gear or speakers breaking in. And my question to you is, because thinking about how when we were talking about the Maggies and you kind of might need to sort of adjust your listening to get the most out of them. Because, listening is an interactive activity. It's a sport. It's a creative act, in my view. It's something we do actively. So people who try to trick you and say, well, you couldn't tell the 256K, MP3 from the DSD file. That just proves it's all snake oil. No, it doesn't. And please be quiet and stop pretending you're a scientist because you're an idiot. Listening changes. When I was mixing music, it would change based on what I had for lunch.
Sure.
If you had something that had a little bit of something in it or a little bit of sugar or something, you get a little ringing in your ears or you just get a little mucus or something comes up. Like an athlete, you notice these things, these tiny little changes in your hearing and how quickly it can change and how often it can.
Yeah.
How many times you finish a mix at midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and you're like, oh my gosh, finally, we nailed it, guys. And everyone's like, yes, finally, we had the great moment. You come up, you wake up, you drag yourself in at 2 p.m. the next day, and you're like, what is this dog vomit I'm listening to? So your hearing plays tricks on you.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not a little voltage reader. So I've just been really curious, now one thing is, I'll just preface by saying speakers absolutely do break in, and anyone who says they don't is an idiot. But it's not the cones, it's not the surrounds, it is the spider. It is the part that you cannot see, which is usually some type of textile that holds the speaker cone in place so it doesn't flop back and forth side to side.
Okay.
And that is usually made of some sort of cotton. It might be a cotton wool poly, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it is meant to be stiff, and it is really like up the shoes of the speaker in a way,
Yeah.
like
Or the jock strap.
Yeah, or the jock strap. Yes. Okay.
Just keeping things together. That's all. Making sure it's not flopping around.
A topic for another time, I think. Audio jock straps. And over time, they will loosen up. And if you've never heard a subwoofer, actually the spider relax in real time.
Yeah.
I've heard it with my wife sitting on the couch watching a movie, watching Pacific Rim, and we both almost jumped out of our seat. Just what happened? And she's like, "Oh my God, did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, the spider just relaxed. You could you just hear it go like, and it was a little bit dramatic for that one instance, but absolutely, my Cantons have only really just started to like loosen up,
Interesting.
and because they're really over-engineered, they're incredibly well built, really high tolerances. And it takes time. I work a lot, so I don't have time to really like put them through their paces many, many, many hours. But so I believe that, yes, there is a physical act of breaking in. Some people swear there's circuitry and this and that that needs time to kind of like burn in. But I think what happens is it takes time for our hearing to adjust to the sound. What about you?
I do agree. I think that our hearing does adjust. Yet at the same time, the equipment is constantly changing. I don't see it as a sort of this curve that starts at one point and then stops at another and then is flat. I see it more as a lifespan of any piece of equipment. Your brakes wear down in your car. A cartridge, your needle wears down. So I believe with virtually any piece of equipment out there that is made with metal, plastic, cloth, whatever it is, you have this curve where it starts off low and you have a break-in period, and then you're hitting the groove. But that doesn't last. Over time, it will go away. It will fade away. It will break. But I think, it's true with humans. It's true with animals. It exists in a bell curve. So based on that, what I see as a fact of life, our ears are also evolving. And so I think our ears are constantly chasing this curve. And I think, you're always a little bit behind. And so I think that there is this momentum of active listening where your equipment is going to change a little bit with every single note, with every single drum strike. It's going to change a little bit. And your ear and that glop of goo that's in between your ears, your brain will also change. It will probably change slower than, it depends on how stubborn you are. I think it's far more complicated than what people will think. I know that there are people out there who say, well, break-in is bull. Well, okay, so if break-in is bull, then what about when it wears out? It's just gonna stay that way forever? No, it simply doesn't. I know with the phono cartridge that I bought, the Ortophon Quintet Black S, when I first put it on, I was like, I was like, a little like, screechy. But then it mellowed out. It simply did. And yeah, maybe it was my ears getting used to it, but I don't think so. I think that my brain was comparing what I was listening to the last thing that I was listening to. And the last thing that I was listening to was a worn out Denon 103R. And then I put on something new and it was like, holy big change, big change, big change.
But in that example, the lion's share, then you think, is the shock of the new. That your listening, in a sense, adjusts and gets used to it. It's not like that cartridge suddenly immediately started to like degrade or change.
No, it wasn't sudden. I would say that my ears did adjust, and at the same time, the cantilever mellowed.
I think a lot of times you hear the change in retrospect. And that's why you can't just do this A/B trickery, like ABX blind testing or nothing else matters. It's like, I got a real bee in my bonnet for the measurement subjectivists, because they sure aren't objective. I'll tell you that. They're measurement subjectivists. I'm a listening subjectivist.
Oh, I'm 100% with you on that. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Darko. He was talking about measurements and how listening was, clearly subjective, that you can absolutely measure with a tool, spectrum analysis, all that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty sensitive, but it is not sensitive enough to measure the experience of listening to a piece of equipment or listening to a new piece of music. I'm sorry, but the equipment that is out there, no matter how sharp or sensitive it is still considered a blunt instrument in comparison to the human mind. I'm not an audiologist. I'm not a neurologist. I don't understand, really how the brain functions. But I know that when I'm judging a piece of equipment, the physical act of listening is almost secondary to how I feel when I am listening to it. Like when we put on Tool today, I was impressed at the beginning, but was I excited? No.
Right.
No, I wasn't excited. I didn't get that excitement. So anyway, so Break-In. Still, I think it's far more complicated than we seem. I don't think that it's a binary answer. For anybody who thinks that they've got it figured out, they're full of
So this is also geared, if you are a beginning audiophile, or you're audiophile curious, or you're trying to see life beyond AirPods, or whatever your stage in this magnificent hobby and journey is, use your ears. I think we are both in very big agreement on that. I remember I bought one of the Dragonfly decks for my wife because she wanted better audio for her laptop, and I was like, great.
Which by the way, like, is there a more exciting time in any audiophile's life when their wife says, "Can you buy me a piece of audio equipment?"
My wife has about 7 really good high-end, like Wi-Fi / Bluetooth portable speakers because of that very question. Like I kind of go a little crazy, and now we need like an etagere or something to like display all the. They're gonna be like the vintage radios, the Bakelite, in the future. They're gonna be like, my daddy I don't know, he was insane. He collected all these little Wi-Fi speakers.
So honey, can you get me I just want to make things to sound a little better.
Okay, so going back to this though, so I got her one of these Dragonflies, and I forget which color. They have blue, they have black, they have purple, they have red, whatever. I don't remember. I don't think it was the tippy top. It was probably the second back or whatever it was. And I remember putting it in and listening to it and going, what? This sounds like bad. And I'm listening to them with decent headphones, and it's like, no, not happening. So at that point, and then she listened to it a couple times, put it in a drawer. I don't know if it was just because the form factor, she didn't want to have a little USB thing sticking out of her laptop or whatever. But whatever it was the most unengaging. I'm sorry, Dragonfly, but this is just absolutely God's honest truth. The most unengaging, disappointing thing compared to the hype that I have personally. It might be on my like Hall of Shame list.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
It was awful. And then a few years later, one of these quote unquote science sites, one of these measurement sites, actually measured it. It measured terribly.
Interesting.
And I remember I looked specifically because I was like, I think I pulled it out of a drawer, and I'm like, yeah, what's the deal with this? I played it again. I'm like, you know what? It still sounds like butt to me. I do not like this thing. And then I looked in, and I sort of formulated in my head what I thought was wrong with it. And I felt that the measurements were off enough and they seem to correlate generally in those areas. Now, I'm not saying I don't have golden ears. I don't have like a golden, but I know how to listen.
Sure.
My hearing is not great, but my listening is pretty good.
Damn right.
And I was listening deeply into this thing, this little USB stick, and it was so disappointing. And then I saw these measurements that actually confirmed what I thought I had heard. And now that was fun.
Yeah.
But I came to it from that way.
Yeah.
So I let my ears do the listening, and I don't buy according to what this bro culture, audio culture of like, hierarchies and language, and you have to, if you don't say ABX testing at least 5 times in every post, then you're going to be demoted from like corporal down to like sergeant. Like it's this real macho coded kind of world of technical jargon and hierarchical thinking, and you either say the right things or you are shunned and you are demoted in these worlds. It's really like a sad. It's like I call them audio incels. Like it's a really sad world. So, but people on some of those sites I've read, saying things like, I would never buy a single piece of equipment until I saw the measurements.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, okay.
Or even worse, when people say, I see the measurements and I know exactly what it's going to sound like.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, no.
Like, I like cars with a low drag coefficient, right? I've driven a lot of like SUVs.
Sure.
So when my wife wanted to get that little Jetta GLI Autobahn edition, the most fun you could probably have, except for like a Miata for about $30K. It's just a blast to drive. You've been in it. And seen my my horrific driving at high speeds.
I wouldn't call it horrific. I mean, certainly fast.
No, I've got to.
I'm still walking.
But the first thing I noticed was like, oh my gosh, there's no wind resistance. And I noticed that, and I really appreciate that because I'm used to kind of getting buffeted by the Grand Cherokees and whatever, like big, like, sacks of potatoes. I drive around the windy roads and stuff that corner like horribly.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that they love it, but I would not sit down and say, that's certainly a factor I would take into and see how it is. Yeah. But again, I noticed it from the experience of driving it, of feeling it behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel that way with audio. And if you're beginning, you're audio curious, you're just moving in, we're just going to always pound the table and say, believe in yourself and do not let yourself get psyched out or insecuritized or whatever by the jargon bros and the audio incels, because I think they have just destroyed the best parts of this hobby and just turned it into like such like a weird like quasi-militaristic ego show. And I can't stand it. So
100%.
Use your ears, believe in yourself, listen first. Don't worry about measurements.
About your point about the audio bros, there is a formula that they worship, and it is wattage divided by total harmonic distortion times the price. And that yields a number. And the higher that number is, the more they enjoy the equipment. So it's got to have wattage. It's got to have low THD numbers, and it's got to be expensive.
Well,
and that number will turn their cherries red every single time.
Well, we're going to debate that another time, because we also have, unfortunately, and I think the sort of the accomplices in this audio chicanery and foolishness going on are the YouTube influencers, because it's amazing how all the best audio products in the world can be bought with just a click on their affiliate link that gets them 15% of the cut.
I just want to hedge a little bit on that, in that some of the reviewers who I do follow and I do support, some of them I actually do really like absolutely respect. Old Guy Hi-Fi, for example.
Right.
He's fantastic. He's great. He's like, he's like, this is my opinion. He tends to lean towards being very forgiving. All I know is that I like his reviews. I like that they're just no bull. Yes, a lot of them. I can name them. Are like, if you're not spending $50,000 on this preamp, you're an idiot. Or the opposite, if you're only spending $200 on this DAC, you're an idiot. You're not a serious audiophile. And I'm like, you know what? You from both sides. I just spent $500 on an amp and $500 on a set of speakers, and I'm going to spend $213 for a streamer and then probably another $100 on the used market for a DAC. All right.
Killer system.
And I'm walking out the door, and it's going to be something that I will do the Pepsi challenge 10 times out of 10 against your $50,000 preamp.
I will tell you right now that if I had $15,000, I would buy the Rockna Wave Dream SC DAC. I have never heard anything reproduce the micro tonal transient response where you just fall to your knees and say, take me to your leader. That's not snake oil.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is not snake oil. And I think that Rockna are so brilliantly engineered. They're not the only ones, but I'm just picking on them because I just think that is still my reference of the greatest stack I've ever heard certainly the last few years. I think it's one of the great bargains in audio.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the great bargains. Yes, if I had that, I would absolutely buy it without hesitation immediately. Now, it would be trouble. What type of speakers? Do I have to spare? Do you have to say, well, your speakers have to be 20 times the price of your deck? No. I could get some Maggies, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as they complement and they can keep up with each other. That's what you're looking for. You're always going to need to system match. There's no getting around that. And I think of a piece of equipment. I heard these with Wilson Benesh. And they were like,
okay.
yeah, they were $35,000, $40,000 speakers.
Correct.
I don't think they were the best speakers I've ever heard. Yeah. They're phenomenal. They're incredible.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of experience with them. I think they're beautiful. I don't think I would buy those to go with it.
Yeah.
But I would throw down for the Rockna in a heartbeat. And I think the lower models are probably close enough that maybe it's aspirational for me, whatever. And then I would listen to that, and then I would go out to garden in my backyard, and I would take my little JBL flip speaker with me, and I'd play some Wishbone Ash, and I would get goosebumps. Because I love audio, and I love music, and I love the experience of listening to it on whatever it is. Like what Rockna has done and some other ways we could talk about some of the very high-end deck makers.
Live Harmony. I'm hearing great things about Live
Harmony.
Harmony.
I have not experienced.
And that's only I say only 2,700, but compared to 15,000.
Right.
It's supposed to be out of this world. Cool. Well, man, this was a lot of fun. We went a little over, but nothing that a little
judicious editing can't fix.
A little judicious editing, some razor blade and some tape can't take care of. But thanks, man. Really, really appreciate it, Mick. Everybody out there, keep your damn records clean, and I love you.
Keep listening.
Bye.